Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome aboard. Happy Monday, if there ever is such a thing. But we'll try to make it as happy as possible for you. Glad to have you along on this Monday as we're into not even mid-February yet, but the early stages still, February 9th. But hey, good shot through it. You know, that means we're closer to March, which closer to spring. Yeah, looking forward to that, but it's not going to be too awfully bad. Temperatures in the 40s this week. Still, man, having an issue here. Very choppy, apparently, our audio is, and it's very scary since I don't know what the issue is. So, Russell says it's the worst game he's ever watched. Just horrible. They hit harder in the national championship game. Don Fischer joins us now. Don, I think I'm having some audio problems. I hope not, but maybe your golden voice will clean it all up. But fun weekend for you is Indiana coming off of a win, a hard-fought win, a very important win, because Indiana now with not only winning 3 out of their last 4 games, Don, 2 of those games were over Purdue and Wisconsin. So really, really improving their resume for the NCAA tournament.
Well, first of all, you are having audio issues. It's not perfect. I don't know how I'm coming through to you.
Yours sound great.
Okay, well, that's a good fortune for me. Obviously, not so much for you.
Maybe I'll just try to talk as little as possible today, and people will love that even more.
Well, here's the thing. Indiana's played some of their best basketball here in the last 3 weeks or so. I've really been encouraged by that. I think this is a good basketball team, and I thought that all the way through. They went through a little rough spot there where they lost 4 straight, but they've come back and they've won 4 of their last 5 ball games now, and they're playing really good basketball, tough basketball. They don't do everything perfect, but you know what team does? Ask Illinois. They just got beat by Michigan State at home. So there's little question that this league is one of the toughest leagues in the country, maybe the toughest league in the country from top to bottom. Look what USC has done here of late. They are playing some of their best basketball as well, including beating Indiana in the only game that they've lost out of the last 5. So I'm encouraged. I really am. I think Indiana on Saturday against Wisconsin had a lead of 14 points in the first half, 6 at halftime, then built it back to 13 during the second half. About midway through the second half, that's when Wisconsin started to make their run. And you've got to expect that in the Big Ten. These teams are all good. They all have talent, including the Oregon team that Indiana's about to face tonight. But I don't want to get into that just yet. I would just say about the Wisconsin ball game that Indiana had a little slippage at the end there. They ended up getting it into overtime and were able to find a way to get it done. It was not a perfect performance by any stretch of the imagination, but if hard work and guys that play their butts off mean anything, it showed in that ball game.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, Don. Even in the loss to USC, I was amazed that they were even in a position to be there with not getting the help that they needed. Lamar Wilkerson kind of a one-man wrecking crew in that game. But the one thing they have done in all of these games is they played their ass off. They're playing hard. So there's no quit. And I, at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, I think this team just has to par out the rest of the way now, Don, after this win over Wisconsin. Not to say that you rest on your laurels, you don't. But I think that they can par out and play the way they've been playing, beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and just if they're going to lose games, of course, losing to Michigan State or Illinois, that's not a hard loss.
No, I agree. I think this team just needs to do what they're capable of doing. They don't have to upset anybody necessarily. I hope that they do upset people, because there's no question they're going to go into a gauntlet here toward the end of the season. But they also have games that they can win. There's no question about that. And this team could beat anybody on a given day if they play up to their capabilities. And the one thing that they haven't done extremely well here in the last couple of ball games is shoot the three very well. And let's face it, this is a team that's got 3-point shooters, and that's one of their real strengths when they're playing some of their best basketball. They did have 10 threes in the game against Wisconsin, but they took 35 shots to get those 10 threes. And it was one of the reasons they were able to win the ball game, but it wasn't the main reason. The main reason is because they're playing much better, I think, cohesively from an offensive standpoint, and they are playing extremely hard at the defensive end of the floor, and they're doing that against everybody they go up against right now. And when you're playing that, when you're playing hard at the defensive end, it gives you a chance against everybody that you play.
Yeah, and they've got a team coming up that should be, in essence, a night off, so to speak. But as you saw with Oregon going to West Lafayette, can't take a night off. Purdue damn near lost to the worst team in the Big Ten, Oregon, at home, no less. So, yeah, Indiana cannot take any night off against any team.
No, well, they don't have as many tools as most of these teams. That's why they can't take a night off.
Right.
They're playing shorthanded. Connor Way hasn't been available, but for a few minutes in 2 games out of the last 5. So when you're talking about playing shorthanded a little bit, and the one thing you got to give credit is Josiah Miles, who was getting very little playing time throughout most of this season. He's hung in there. When he's gotten his number called, he's gone out there and played really hard. He doesn't give you a statistical amount of things going on there, but he plays hard at the defensive end. He's athletic. He gives you something out there that can keep you going and give you, the guys that need a rest, a little bit of an opportunity to sit down and relax for a couple of minutes and then go back in. So they're getting play from everybody that goes out on the floor right now. It's really critical in that context. And they've got a couple of other guys that we haven't seen play all that great here lately. I would point out Trent Sisley has not had a really good 3 or 4 ball games in the last couple of weeks, but he's made some plays. In the UCLA ball game, he comes up big, knocks down a key free throw at the end that won the game for them. So everybody is kind of doing their job, so to speak. But right now, the biggest problem with this basketball team is, in my opinion, is that they have got to find a way to continue that 3-point shooting. If you don't shoot the ball well, this is a team that's set up to shoot the 3 and to shoot it well. And if they do that, they're going to have a chance in every game that they play. And I think they've got to get back to the 3-point shot. I do think that the flu had a problem with a couple of guys in the last week or so. The flu had a problem out in LA for a couple of guys. And likewise, they had it when they got back. So they've had guys go through this. Hopefully, after winning this ball game tonight, I'm sounding like a coach, right? After winning this ball game tonight, they've got 5 or 6 days to get ready for Illinois.
And that's going to be a tough game. Illinois is, I'm thinking, besides being one of the best top 2 teams in the conference, they're one of the best in the country. They're a team that I see that can win a national championship. So it's going to be a tough. Not only is that going to be a tough ask, it's the matchups. Oh man, Indiana does not match up per se against Illinois. Then again, a lot of people don't. Don, I mean, Illinois has got a lot of different talent, and that freshman Kagan Wagner, Keegan Wagner, man, he has come on like gangbusters.
Yeah, he has. He's a terrific freshman. I guess nobody heard of him before he had his big ball game, but this guy can play. He's really a talented kid.
I know that Underwood offered him a scholarship side. He never even saw him play. So that goes for that. But yeah, great news for Indiana. They're looking more and more like they're heading toward an NCAA tournament berth, and that's pretty good. With this team, they fought from the beginning, Don. They were underhanded, then they were injured, so they have been fighting through things all season, and they have never really still haven't gotten to a point of being completely healthy.
No, they have not. That's the biggest issue. I mean, they haven't had Josh Harris all year. Thought he was going to be a factor for him because he played in Puerto Rico. I like what I saw from him. He's a 6'8" kid that's got a big physical body, and he could really help them on the inside and has not been available at all. I think he's practicing a little bit now, but my gut is that they're not going to play him because you got a red shirt available. And why wouldn't you want to have a kid like that available for next year? Because you're going to lose a bunch of these guys at the end of this season because they're out of eligibility. And without doubt, they had all along planned to redshirt Andre Cimic, the kid from Bosnia. Ristic hasn't played a lot of minutes here so far at this point. I think he's another guy that ends up, I think he's going to be a really good player at some point, but they're not getting playing time. And when you're not getting playing time, it's hard to advance your game. There's no question about it. So, and that's why Josiah Miles, I give him a lot of credit because he's hung in there and didn't get a lot of playing time up until the last 2 weeks or so. And all of a sudden he's popped up there and given him some really positive minutes.
Tucker DeVries has obviously struggled from a scoring standpoint for several games now. Has done a lot of other things to help the team along the way, but they really are going to need him to become the third guy. Now that Nick Dorn has kind of established himself as one of the guys that can be counted on to score, although went away a little bit in the USC game. But they have a three-headed monster of sorts from a scoring standpoint. And if those three guys are all going, this is going to be a dangerous team in the NCAA tournament, probably a team that a lot of teams would rather not face, because if Indiana gets hot, they can make life hell for you.
Well, there's no question, especially when you see how hard they play at the defensive end. I think that's been one of the unsung heroes of this team this year is their defensive play. They are a good defensive basketball team. They play hard all the time at that end of the floor. It's when they have problems, it's been on the offensive end when they haven't been able to hit the threes, or if they've not been able to get the inside game going at all. And let's face it, they're playing undersized in the middle. That's just the fact. And yet they're getting it done. How about Sam Alexis in this game against Wisconsin? Comes up with a season-high 19 points in the ball game, plays his butt off, gets 5 block shots in that contest, rebounds really well. I think he had 8 boards in the game. He's a guy that's really helped them. And the oddity is, it seems like if Sam is playing his best basketball, Reed Bailey's not. And when Reed Bailey is playing his best basketball, Sam is not. If those two guys can ever get it together in the same ball game, this team is really going to be good. But I give them credit. Those guys they bust it all the time, and I give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and I mentioned Nick Dorn. He didn't score at all in this last game and didn't do a lot in the game before that. So they really need him to get back after it. Lamar Wilkerson again. 25 points in 41 minutes and another overtime win for Indiana. 19 points for Sam Alexis, you mentioned. Tucker DeVries, though, 16 points. That's big to have him score after, I mentioned he had been struggling, but to get him back like that was huge. And Lamar Wilkerson, 8 of 8 at the free throw line. Only goes 1 of 8 from behind the three-point line, but he hits the important free throws. This team is just, boy, they're shooting. If they get all this shooting together, it's Katie bar the door.
Well, they're a basketball team that's limited. We know that they're limited in some areas, and yet they find ways to overcome that. And that's what they did against Wisconsin. It's what they did against UCLA. Like I said before, I think this team has an opportunity here to really make a run here at the end of the season and win the games that they can win. There's no doubt there are winnable games there. And then they're going to go up against some big boys that are going to make it tough. And yet they're capable of knocking them off as they showed against Purdue. So right now, I think everybody's pretty excited about what this team's doing. And I think our fan base has gotten in love with this team as well because of how hard they fight.
No doubt, Don. And they've got some important games coming up that they'll be playing. And again, tomorrow night, they're back on the hardwood with a game against Oregon in a game that they definitely need to win, of course. But that would put them 2 games over 500 in the Big Ten and put them at 17 wins on the season, 3 games away from that magical 20 win mark, which if they hit 20 wins, they're in for sure. But I think this team is going to end up in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I don't know that they're going to be in for sure with 3 more wins.
That's why I get to say that stuff. You don't have to worry about it.
Think about it. The Big Ten is 18 teams now. I mean, it's not like we're talking about 10 or 12 teams or 14 even. We're talking about 18 teams. And USC's gotten hot here. They're playing really good basketball. UCLA is very capable. Obviously, Wisconsin is. There are a lot of teams in this ball. I mean, there's nobody you can take a night off against. And that's
there's 11 teams, Don, that I think might make the NCAA tournament. 11 out of 18.
I don't think that'll happen.
I think it'll be 10. I think it'll be 10, though. I really do, because those last 2 teams are Indiana and Ohio State, and USC would be fighting for that. But enjoy. Good luck on the broadcast tomorrow night. Make sure you're tuning in.
That's
and if you are
tonight, Jimmy.
Tonight, man. Days run together. You kept saying that, and I'm like thinking I was not going to correct you, but I'm like thinking it's tomorrow night, Don. It's tomorrow night. But
it's tonight.
So, I can't believe I run that game back that fast. But right after you got it tonight, make sure you're following Don on the broadcast. You can catch him on if you ever wonder how to hook up your TV, and just go to the Varsity app, and you can put Don wherever you want him.
Thank you. Appreciate it. See ya.
You bet. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, as always. Glad to have him. Oregon played like they their lives depended on it at Purdue. Purdue also, they've struggled at home some this year. They've lost to Illinois, which that's not really a bad loss. I mean, hell, anybody can lose to them anywhere. But, Oregon, them and Penn State are battling for the worst team in the conference. Oregon currently 1-11. Penn State currently 1-12. So Oregon can even that up tonight with tonight's game against Indiana. And as I look down through there are 12 teams, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Big Ten teams that have 500 records or better. And that goes from Michigan's 22-1 mark, the Illini losing a tough one at Michigan State yesterday, knocks them a game behind, or a game behind Michigan in the Big Ten standings. Nebraska's a game and a half back. They're 21-2. There are already 4 teams in the Big Ten with 20 wins on the season already. And Purdue's next win puts them there. That'll put 5 teams over the top. So there is that. Michigan, they're going to be tough to beat in the Big Ten regular season. Boy, this Big Ten tournament is going to be fun stuff to watch. Hey, let me take a quick break. Didn't take one yet. We'll do so, and lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Glad to have you along with us. Appreciate you very, very much. Hey, don't forget that that championship football? Nico Sports, NIKCO sports.com is where you can find that. We'll run that spot right now, but it's a pretty cool deal, man. You want to put that in your trophy case in the sports room. There it is. There's a picture of it. You can just go to nicosports.com and you get that done. Hey, more coming up. Appreciate you being with us right after these messages.
Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era and possibly the greatest college team ever. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at the link on your screen. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level all up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along and glad to be with you. Hope your weekend went well. If you went out to your basketball game or Saturday, what'd you do for the Super Bowl? Stick at home. I stayed at home. As a matter of fact, didn't really, it wasn't that big of a deal to me this year for some reason. But for those of you that did watch the halftime show, Greg Rakestraw joining us now. Greg, how are you, brother? Well, he can't hear me at the moment, so we'll wait till he joins us. But yeah, I didn't miss out on a lot, I don't think. And, so much was made of the stupid halftime show. Does it really matter? Although wow, is it really still bad? Hey, Greg, I think that for some reason my audio's bad today. And hopefully his will be bad, but mine is still bad. Not sure what's going on there, I'm going to be honest with you. Well, Fred did not see the halftime show or the game, stayed at home, just kept warm. Others watched the alternative. So that was not a big day. I mean, I don't know why. I was just not into this Super Bowl for some reason. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it just didn't. It didn't light my fire for some reason, and I kind of that, and partly because the Seahawks were such an overwhelming favorite, although it was not on the money line from that standpoint. But it just seemed like there was not going to be much of a game. And boy, oh boy, the defense of Seattle, they made it happen. They made it happen as they usually do. Well, there's a problem. I can see that. We'll get that fixed right now.
Boom. How does that sound? Wow. I don't know how that happened, but it sure did. The mic got switched somehow. Hey, we're back now. Better sounding. Sorry about that. But yeah, I don't know what it was about this particular Super Bowl that just did not light me on fire. Yeah. It's usually an easy fix, but just once you get it figured out. Let's see if we can get the Laz boys on for a post-game show again tonight. Yeah, that did it. That did it. Let's see. Oh, yeah. How about Hoosier Connects, the NIL for Indiana? Very, very smart. They've been auctioning off certain game items. The headset worn by Kurt Cignetti at the Natty went for like $112,000. But guess what? That goes back into the program. So, Greg joining us. See if we can hear us now. Greg, if you can, just jump on. He's having problems today for some reason. Not sure. But he's having a technical problem. But that happens in the world of technology. Bediako case has been pushed back a week. Next Friday. Bediako is the Alabama basketball player who played in the NBA. And let's see. No, Aguiar's was postponed until next Friday's. The information was taking in, but no decision was made on the Bediako case. See if I can find that back where I was. But yeah, it's the information's been taken in, but something was said by Nate Oates that some think that does not bode well for Alabama. And I hope not. I mean, when you have your own commissioner, and how is that when, as Alabama, your league commissioner is asking that a judge rules against you? That should tell you something. So maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But the latest is charged Bediako on the NCAA appeared back in court last Friday. Attorneys argued in front of a Tuscaloosa judge, first of all, for about an hour and a half, all concerning what Bediako, whether he's eligible or not to play. The judge said there will be a ruling coming out soon, but he did not give a timeline as to when that decision would come down. What we do know is that Bediako's attorneys and the NCAA each submitted a document to the court writing out how they would like the judge to rule in the case. Well, there you go. The judge will now review those proposals and make a final decision. I would sure think that an affidavit that was signed by Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, carries a lot of weight with that judge. One would hope. During Friday's arguments, Bediako's attorney argued if he is not granted an injunction, he will face irreparable harm. What is irreparable harm here? The fact that he's not going to make as much money as he would in life? Well, yes. Guess what? If I don't get to play for somebody, I'm going to be irreparably harmed. I'm not good enough. Be damned the fact that I'm not good enough. It doesn't matter. It still irreparably harms me. Ridiculous. They argue if he is not allowed to play basketball, it could impact his scholarship and ability to graduate. Wait a minute. This is the guy who left school to go turn pro, who made the decision to knowingly give all of that up. All of a sudden, now he's going to be irreparably harmed? Oh, come on. These guys are stretching. They're reaching. Bediako's attorney said multiple athletes have been allowed to play collegiate sports after going pro across the country in different sports. None of them have played in the NBA, dude. The NCAA argued it comes down to how much time an athlete has played. Bediako played 2 years at Alabama before going to the G League. NCAA rules allow for 4 seasons of playing eligibility. Of course, many are wanting to see them go to the 5-5. That would eliminate the red shirt, the medical, all that stuff. Bediako's attorneys say the NCAA's rules are arbitrarily applied, and schools like Texas A&M and Ole Miss back student athletes, much like Alabama. However, the NCAA says the rules are made by all schools in the association, and exceptions can't be granted to each school that wants one. We are still waiting for word from Bediako's attorneys as to whether he will play in Saturday's game against Auburn. I don't know. I have to go back and look to see if he played, because I think Alabama sees the writing on the wall personally. Let's pull that up. Alabama versus Auburn in basketball. I think that Nate Oates knows that it's not going to go his way. I don't think. They won the game 96-92. See if we can get the there we go. Game stats. Whoops, box scores rather. For Alabama, Charles Bediako played 22 minutes, was 5 of 5, scored 12 points. So, rolling the dice. But I guess they can because they have the TRO, temporary restraining order, which allows them to do that. Hey, let's take a quick break. We got lots more coming up. Appreciate you being with us here on this Monday. Lots more coming up right after these messages.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games every Sunday through Thursday, a new menu to dig into, and next-level upgrades like private game suites, the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington, 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, and that usually means a visit by our good friend Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network. How was your weekend, sir?
It was good. I was happy I could hear you. I could see you like 3 or 4 times, but now I can actually hear what you're saying to me. So
I was having hell with my own mic earlier. It switched somehow. It's like for no reason something switches. You're like, why? Why does it do that? And
clearly, your studio thinks the day after the Super Bowl should be a holiday, like other folks do.
It's not wrong.
All is good.
It's not wrong. I didn't. This is going to almost sound un-American, Greg. I paid very little attention to this year's Super Bowl. I don't know why. I just wasn't pulled into it. I was almost positive Seattle's going to win.
Right.
And it was going to be a pretty much defensive lockdown by Seattle, and pretty much that's exactly what it was. I didn't care about the halftime show either way. I was not like, oh, can't wait to see it, and I was not like, oh, I hate it. Couldn't. It was just like, whatever, I don't care. But it was the same for the whole Super Bowl. It just, I don't know what it was. It was weird this year for me.
You know, I think there is always a thing when it's Seattle because they are so far removed from kind of everybody else. You know, they are to some degree geographically out on an island. And when it comes to the National Football League. And I would say secondarily, even though football is less this way than, say, the NBA, it is less star-driven. When you have 2 relatively young, new quarterbacks, et cetera, it doesn't pull in the casual fan as much. If your team had the finish in which the Indianapolis Colts did, you have largely checked out. I understand if fans in this area, not just Colts apathy, but also have had their fill of football with Indiana University. And when your team has this remarkable storyline and remarkable season, you kind of go, all right, I've given my darn, so to speak, about football, and I'm moving on to something else. So I understand that too. And
it's
again,
funny that you said that because right before you started talking, it occurred to me, and I wrote it down. IU football just took too much energy,
right?
And you said it right before. I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I was just saying. It's like, man, it lasted so stinking long, and those last 3 games were big. 4 games were major, big time games, and it's like, wow. And it did. It's like,
believe it or not, everybody only has such an emotional reserve to be a sports fan. There is a limit as to how much you can consume. And yes, very rarely does the Super Bowl play out almost exactly as you thought it would. And that one kind of did. The Patriots were a good team. Drake May had an outstanding second season. But if you watch, especially the last 2 postseason games, they didn't win because of Drake May. They won in spite of Drake May. And again, now we will see kind of how he rebounds from this. You know, the last guy that kind of had that level of dud in a Super Bowl was Jared Goff, which was the still the record for the lowest scoring Super Bowl when the Patriots, the last time they appeared in it, beat the Rams 13-3. Things have worked out for Jared Goff. He's doing okay. And so I think the same will be for Drake May. He just got into a funk and clearly couldn't snap out of it until that game had been decided. So the other thing that it kind of resonates with me as well, in the middle of December, the Colts led with less than a minute left to go at the Super Bowl champions. And I get that people are tired of 8-9 or 9-8 every year. I get that people are tired of maybe Chris Ballard in general for a lot of Colts fans. But that's also an indication Colts weren't that far away, man. Against a team that, again, had a shutout going for a good chunk of the Super Bowl. And it wasn't like the Colts had this spectacular offensive performance. But the Colts were leading at the Super Bowl champs late in the year. They had the lead with less than a minute to play in the game. So, again, folks, maybe the Colts aren't that far off.
Oh, hey, no doubt. They were doing things that hadn't been done. So There's no doubt about that.
And again, they've got to get results in 2026. So let's not blow this comment out of context, but maybe they're not that far away. Just a thought.
Oh, there's truth to both of those. Both things are true without question. I like this. The streaker had more yards than the Patriots offense, but he wasn't even really a streaker. He's a poser. He had his pants on, so we can't even get a full-fledged streaker anymore.
I'm not sure whether we should thank him for that or criticize him for that. Maybe I'll leave it like the halftime show and just let other people talk about it.
Yeah, there is that. I've not even seen any comments on the halftime show, to be honest with you.
You're the one person that hasn't seen comments on the halftime show, then. Good for you.
I haven't been looking for them. But, what about the rest of you? Basketball season is now, it's coming. It's quickly coming to a close and start as the tournament's about to be here.
Correct. So if you look big picture, include both boys and girls, we're 1 week down to state tournament and 7 more weeks left to go. So from a boys standpoint, there are 3 weeks of the regular season. Oftentimes teams kind of like to maybe play early that last week and then not play late. I think the snow outs maybe has changed that a little bit, where you're going to have to fit in some conference games late in the season. Like this, I'll kind of get into a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday rhythm for the most part, in terms of high school games. But I think we have an idea, on the boys' side. Fischer's is the best team. Doesn't mean they're unbeatable. Westfield took them to overtime on Thursday. Carmel got beat by them by 3 the previous week.
And is that still without Jason Gardner Jr.?
And it's still without Jason Gardner. So again, it gives you an idea of just the amazing job that Garrett Weiniger has done in the last 3 years. And I think it was Lee Evans, a Hickory Husker, that posted like the most wins in a 4-year stretch by a given program. And again, back in the 20s and 30s, teams played more games. And frankly, you had to play more games in the state tournament in those days, because the state tournament had 500, 600, 700 teams. And so you've got some teams that played like 35 games, which you're just not going to do anymore. But there is a chance, if the end of this season goes well and Fischer's keeps everything together for next year with Zachary Gardner, et cetera, they might have a legitimate shot of getting to the second most wins in a 4-year stretch in Indiana basketball history. I think Vincent's Lincoln in the mid-20s was in like the 128 range. Next would be like about 116, 117. And in theory, I think Fischer's get to about 120 wins over a 4-year stretch. So it's not a fait accompli that they're going to win the state title, but they are clearly the favorite. In 3A, it's going to come down between Silver Creek and Cathedral when those two teams likely see each other, which would be at some.
And both of those teams, am I wrong to say both of those teams could probably play in and possibly win 4A?
Possibly. I would say no, just because I saw Silver Creek's 1 loss. And I just think that if they played and they play as many 4As in Southern Indiana as they possibly can, because Jeff, New Albany, Floyd play them. Other teams in the Hoosier Hills Conference play them. For as good as they are, like they can be competitive in a 1-game scenario. If they played a 6 or 7 game 4A tournament, maybe you and I are having a bit of a different conversation. I think Sagarin's got them 2, with Fischer's being 1 at this point. And Silver Creek's lone loss is Crown Point, who is maybe the 4th or 5th best team, in the state. So competitive, yes, but I wouldn't put them as one of the favorites to win 4A. And then I think 1A and 2A are pretty open. Oak Hill might be the best team in 2A because Oak Hill's got a pretty special group from a small school perspective this year.
And so what's before we get into tournament play, then what's the next big couple of games that are going to happen?
Sure.
The good thing is nothing affects the tournament other than a mental affection.
Sure. So tomorrow night, Mount Vernon and Pike, and Mount Vernon obviously has Mr. Basketball and Luke Earl. I think there's no doubt about that. They've been on a good run. Probably haven't played. You have these early season showcase events where you can go play some great competition. So Mount Vernon played Fishers and lost to them with Jason Gardner, without Ethan Hillsman, and as kind of those young role players still figuring things out. It was, I want to say, a 9-point win back on December the 6th for Fishers over Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon played in the Hall of Fame Classic and then went and won Homestead's tournament the weekend after, which was really impressive. So Pike and Mount Vernon is tomorrow night. And again, I think Pike is the second best team in the state behind Fishers. I'll have Ben Davis and Lawrence North on Friday night. Ben Davis is a fringe top 10 team. Lawrence North is probably 7th or 8th. So those are two of the better teams in the Indianapolis area. Pike and LN play each other the following Friday on February the 20th, and I'll have that game as well. So, again, in 4A this year, I think there's Fishers. I put Pike just below them. And there's about 5 or 6 teams where it is an absolute coin flip. Plainfield, LN, Carmel, Crown Point. I'd put Mount Vernon in that group as well. That kind of gets you down to about the 9th or 10th position. So, Jim, I think from a 4A perspective, we're looking at a really good tournament.
Looking forward to it. We don't have the and when Indiana puts out so much talent that you cannot have that every year. But this is kind of, it seems like a down year as far as elite talent. Not to say there aren't good players out there. There are. But a lot of times there are multiple McDonald's All-American type players.
Right.
And very few states get that, especially when you consider Indiana is a pittance compared to other states from a size-wise.
Well, Jim, what I would say is this, is that the last 20 years, we have been so ridiculously blessed with the talent that has come through this state. 2 of the last 3 years, that talent has been slightly down. That wasn't the case last year. But at the same time, this group that were seniors, when they were juniors, they won the junior-senior all-star game at Greenfield Central against Braylon Mullins and company because Luke Ertl went off. And that was a badge of honor for him and for the guys in this class. So, no, it is not the deepest class. You've got Luke going to Purdue. You've got Noah Smith going to DePaul. You'll have 10 to 15 to 20 kids that are Division I level players out of this group on the boys' side. You probably won't have an all D1 Indiana all-star team this summer. So, no, it's not the deepest group. But what you do have is a top 8 or 9 teams in 4A where, again, there's not a massive difference, which leads to a really good month of March from a state tournament perspective.
And then, so obviously you guys are going to have tons of games to broadcast from that standpoint.
Correct. So, really from a television standpoint, we're running 3 wide each of the next 3 weeks, counting down to the state tournament. Then we'll have, likely the Noblesville sectional is the one that we'll be following with Fishers and Carmel and Westfield that are kind of the headliners of that group. Noblesville has had a bit of a rough year, and unfortunately, they lost one of their potential Indiana All-Stars in Justin Curry to a knee injury that happened last weekend. So he is done for the season. He's signed up to play at Valparaiso next year. So we've got that coming up. But yes, it is especially over the next 3 or 4 weeks, it is a sprint until we get kind of the regional round and activity becomes just on weekends only as of March 14th.
And that's for the boys, of course. The girls, they're underway, aren't they?
Correct. So sectionals wrapped up on Saturday, thankfully. Weather-wise, nobody got delayed. After a couple of delays midweek in Southern Indiana, everybody got the championships games in on Saturday night. And again, from a 4A perspective, Warsaw getting beat was a big upset against Northridge. Kind of Warsaw's kryptonite would have been teams that had a big, and Northridge had that. And so Warsaw got down. They were number 1 in the state for a good chunk of the year. They were the runners-up last year, but they get sent home early. Other team that got sent packing is a very talented Homestead team, but they knew they were in for a fight because they were playing last year's 3A champs in Norwell, who got bumped up and basically returned their entire lineup from a season ago, led by Vanessa Rossworm, who is going to be an Indiana All-Star. And so that team got through. But frankly, Jim, a lot of the things I would say about the 4A boys draw, I say the exact same thing about the 4A girls draw. It is a really talented year, and there's a lot of parity. Parity doesn't mean mediocrity. There's a lot of really good – there's about a 7 or 8 team group that maybe a couple of those teams got beat on Saturday night, but they're still going. The girls draw, this maybe is one of the rare years, and maybe in girls it's a little bit less this way, where there's more talent in the northern half of the bracket than, say, in the southern half of the bracket. But the other thing that is also possible, Pike could win both state championships. Their girls team is really good, and they were almost, in my mind, kind of like co-number ones with Warsaw. Pike's team is really good, and they've got a tough test in LC. They got to play LC on Saturday afternoon. That will not be easy. If they can get past that one, I think Pike should be the southern representative in terms of the 4A Girls Championship on February the 28th.
Sounds like a lot's about to happen, man. It's that time of year. Make sure you are giving Greg a follow and the ISC Sports Network as well to keep up with it all. Appreciate you, sir.
You got it, buddy.
Enjoy the rest of your week.
Same.
Greg Rakestraw joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. As always, greatly appreciate him doing so. Dustin Dopirak will join us next. We'll talk about the Pacers and every Indianapolis sports, Indiana sports, everything that's going on. I do know that, somebody had an injury for the Pacers last week, and, man, I missed it. Oh, Johnny Furphy, he was out versus the Raptors following a dunk. But we'll talk about that. And now that the Pacers have made this gigantic trade, which probably makes them better, you don't want to get too much better. You want to stay in it, because we've seen the Pacers, even though they have been so underhanded, they have played their butts off. They won 3 games in a row. It's hard for a team that's in their position to win 3 games in a row. That's a big deal for a team that's supposedly the worst or second worst team in the league. So they're not going to stop. They're not quitting. They're going to continue to play hard. And now you've added a better piece. So while the fans would definitely like to see them, I hate to use the word tank, but continue business as usual for this season, because next season, if they're in that top 3 draft, could be very spectacular. It could be better than it was a season ago. Says a lot. That says a lot. When they went to the Game 7 of the NBA Finals, they're going to have everything back and then some. They're going to be a better team next year. And that's saying something. And that's hard to imagine. That doesn't happen very often for a team to go to the NBA Finals, lose in Game 7, then lose your best player, suck for a year, and then come back as maybe one of the best teams in the league. We'll see. They're going to have that opportunity and more. We've got lots more coming up. Dustin Dopirak will join us. The Olympics are going on. All kinds of stuff to talk about. Appreciate you being with us. We're back with all of that and more right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave and Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level all up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Indiana football accomplished what no other team ever has. Big Ten, Rose Bowl, Peach Bowl, and CFP national champions. The Hoosiers have etched their name into the history books as the first 16-0 team in the modern era and possibly the greatest college team ever. A limited edition of only 5,000 commemorative national championship footballs has been released. 3 full panels embossed and stamped with every championship logo and fully licensed. Get your piece of history today at the link on your screen. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along, and that means a visit from our good friend Dustin Dopirak. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. How about yourself, man?
Can't complain. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did, yeah. No, I didn't go to Toronto. If I had gone to Toronto, I would have had some issues. But I watched that one at home, and then I missed most of the first quarter. We went to go see some friends. So by the time I got done writing about Pacers Raptors yesterday, I missed a little bit of it, but caught enough of it. I was interested. It's weird. Like, you look at the stat sheet, and it's not nearly as like Seahawks dominant as you would think. Like, the total yards aren't far apart, which just doesn't make any sense because for 3 quarters, New England could do absolutely nothing. And like most of that is just like kind of 2 touchdowns that you tacked on, but like, it makes it look like it was close and it just wasn't. I mean, like that Seattle's like defensive performance won't get the credit historically that it deserves because there are yards tacked on there that make it look like it wasn't that great, but it was that great. Like,
it was just a dominant. It just they stopped them in every which way that they
just owned them. They just owned them up front so badly, but and in the back end too. I mean, secondary was incredible. Gave up nothing, constant pressure, 4-man rushes. Like they weren't even blitzing that much, just winning.
The saying is defense wins championships, and
sometimes it does. It doesn't always. But
it doesn't always. But how many
times
though we look back into the Super Bowl and it is a defense that. Even think back to when New England was down 28-0 to Atlanta and just shut them down in the second half of that game.
Mm-hmm.
Daggone it.
Yeah.
Didn't want that to happen. Would have rather have seen the former running back for Indiana get a ring there. But
sure.
A former player, A.J. Barner, did get a Super Bowl ring.
He did.
Transferred to Michigan, of course, as well. But picks up a Super Bowl ring.
And got a touchdown.
As a matter of fact, scored the first touchdown of the Super Bowl game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was fourth quarter before we saw a touchdown, I think. But yeah, it was that was cool. But he got wide open on like kind of a tight end, not a flag route, corner route. Just like it's got very clean line, and Darnold hit him pretty in stride there. But that was cool. I mean, we've seen it in the past. Certainly, we've seen a bunch of Indiana guys end up on Super Bowl rosters, and Tevin was close, like you said. He was fantastic. Like, I mean, thought he had a touchdown in that game. But yeah, no, AJ Barner, big deal for Seattle team that they they're an interesting collection because I mean like they're really dominant like in retrospect. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those teams that you look at now, like at the end, and you're like, I don't know that we gave this group enough credit. I mean, they won their last 10 games. But like mostly it was because like the wins that stand out are they just beat up they beat really good NFC West teams. They beat the Rams, 49ers twice each. Like they didn't beat a whole lot of other teams, or like they just didn't get into like the sort of Eastern time zone very much. But they looked like, if you were kind of watching them down the stretch, you're like, this team might be really, really good. And yeah, just last night just stood out just how really good they are. And they did it without, like, there's not a huge name on that team. Sam Darnold obviously is a, like journeyman quarterback, been through everything. And like that's his story, is like he's given up on so many times. And for him to make it, Kenneth Walker is a heck of a player, obviously, but Jackson Smith-Njigba is incredible, but like you still haven't as good of a year as he had. I think he was like offensive player of the year. I mean, he was amazing. Like we're still kind of getting him into that superstar status. But man, like as a collective, that Seattle team is really, really good. And, they were like, it made for a kind of a dull game, but like if you like watching defense, they were just really fun to watch.
And speaking of Toronto, and don't forget, you don't say the T with Toronto. It's, didn't you see the movie Argo?
Yeah. With Ben Affleck.
Yeah. When they're training for this mission, they're supposed to be a movie crew from Toronto. And he said, yeah, they don't say the T in Toronto. It's Toronto. They don't say the T. I cannot hear that word without that just jumping into my head. Toronto. Yeah.
That's the one. I mean, the one that kills me is the Alan Arkin line when he's like, they want to unionize. He's like, yeah. so you could take your like that whole stretch for me is like, I don't know if you heard, the Zulu extras want to unionize. they might be cannibals, but they want health and dental, so the movie's kaput. Like that's my favorite.
He is great in that movie. Oh,
he's incredible. He's incredible. Absolutely unbelievable.
Well, I just love anybody that has the dry humor that is able to deliver it with such. Charles Grodin was great at that. I mean, yeah. Speaking of Toronto, with the T, Trace Jackson Davis with the T traded to the Argonauts. No, just kidding. To the Raptors, and his debut was against the Pacers on Sunday, and he goes for double-double.
Yeah,
nice debut for TJD.
Yeah, not bad. He got a good, got a break, I guess, if you would say. Colin Murray Boyle started. He was their first-round pick this year, and he had a thumb injury, and he didn't come back for the second half. So they kind of had to mess with lineups a little bit. They started the second half without a center, and going small kind of just changed that game entirely. I mean, the Raptors were down 48-46 at the break, and they scored. So they scored 46 points in the first half. They scored 44 points in the third quarter. They just took it to the Pacers entirely, just drove the ball at them. I think they had 22 points in the paint in the first half. And I think they had 24 in the third quarter, and it just took it at him. And so that got Jackson Davis a lot of second half minutes. And so he got, it went for 10 points, 10 rebounds. And again, they didn't have a center. But, he continues to be the guy that he is. I think he's, when he got in the league, you're like, okay, well, he doesn't really shoot. Is there going to be a space for that in the NBA? And the option has been yes. Now, it's tough to stick, because basically you're a second unit center, and you can something can always change, roster wise on whatever team you're on that, could put you in a bind and make it difficult for you to get playing time. And that's kind of what happened in Golden State is they put a couple pieces together, and he just ended up not getting the same type of minutes that he had been getting as a rookie and stuff like that. But he's going to continue to be a useful piece. And that'll work out for him in Toronto. Toronto's a good team, but it's a nice little addition that they have in him. I don't know, what kind of minutes he's going to get, but he's going to be a guy that gives them some center depth. I think, and their starter, Jakob Poeltl, has gone through some injuries and hasn't been particularly effective. So, they're probably going to they're going to be a playoff team. And he's going to be a guy that works as a second unit center for them, give them a big off the bench, and has a chance to make an impact. And and the East is pretty wide open. Detroit looks really good, Boston and New York look really good, but after that, it's pretty up in the air. So it wouldn't be crazy to see Toronto to win a playoff series, and you might see Trace Jackson Davis getting some big minutes in the Eastern Conference semis if it works out that way.
Yeah, but it's certainly going to be fun. But it's been fun to watch him. He has made his own way in that league. I will give him all the credit in the world, and still going. this is probably better for him. Maybe. I mean, the Warriors are. Is he in a better spot now?
I mean, yes, I think so. At the end of the day, I mean, I think he was. Again, like he was always going to have a chance with Golden State. They liked him. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think if you're on the NBA beat, the Warriors PR staff is the best, and like that's no shade at the Pacers or anybody else, but like the Warriors go over the top as to make you, sort of feel welcome and comfortable and everything like that. If you're traveling in there, like Raymond Ritter's the best PR guy in the league. He's fantastic. And it calls you ahead of time to see if you want to do anything, basically. And like, so, he set up Jackson Davis press conferences when they came into Indiana, everything just to like make sure like, hey, do you got your guys? You got the guys that you're interested in. So I always got to talk to Buddy Hield. I got to talk to Will Sheehy about him. Will Sheehy's on their staff. So and they've got some Indiana connections. I mean, what's his name? Seth Cooper is still, on the bench there. He used to be a grad assistant for the Pacers for IU way back when. So I mean, Steve Kerr was a big Trace Jackson Davis fan, and he'd be pretty open about that and like want to talk about that. And I think it's just, the pieces move around and it's not easy to make sure that everybody maintains their roles. Warriors have had some ups and downs over the last couple of years as these guys, like they're mega stars are starting to age. Steph's starting to age. Draymond Green's starting to age. Obviously, they moved on from Klay Thompson. So the guys that built that championship team are, either, like Curry's not aging out. You've got a few more years left in Curry, but I mean, they've had to shake up their lineups. They just traded, their roster as well. They just traded Kuminga and Buddy Hield out. And so, they added Porzingis, and I think that was kind of the end of it, if they're going to try to get Porzingis some minutes, it moves back a little bit and shakes things up in a way that was going to be hard for Jackson Davis to stay on the floor. There could have been time if they kept him around, but I think eventually, and his contract's probably up too. So, like this is probably a better scenario right now. Again, it's a good team. Toronto's doing better than Golden State is right now. They've got some really good pieces, some, great young talent that's really coming together. Scotty Barnes is fantastic. I mean, he was just incredible yesterday. RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram. I mean, they've got a lot of big wings that are really good. And they do need, at least a couple real fives that to give them some roster flexibility. They've got enough size that they don't need center, need to start a center and stuff like that. I mean, they can move their lineups around so that they're just going all wings. But you need a 5-man somewhere in there. You're going to face some lineups in the playoffs where, okay, like you need to have a bigger dude at least for 5 minutes here and 10 minutes there or whatever. And Jackson Davis gives them a guy like that, even if Murray Bowles isn't healthy. He gives them somebody that can go to off the bench and say, hey, all right, we need you to go up against this 6'11", 7-foot guy for a while, get in his way, get some rebounds. Jackson Davis can be that guy for them.
Hey, Aaron asks, with what happened to Furphy?
Not Murphy, Furphy. Yeah. No. So he knows that. Aaron's talked to me on Twitter a few times. No. I mean, they have to have injuries. You know what I mean? There are still rules here. And is
this not nom? There are rules, man. This is not nom, dude.
This is bullying. No, I think they're in a weird circumstance. I mean, I heard you talking before the break. I wrote about this on Friday, basically after the Bucks game. They're in a very weird place because they have had what you would call an ethical tank all year. They've played, they've gone out, they played hard, they've still lost. But now after the trade, I mean, the thing that changes things for them is the conditions on the pick that they sent to, that they technically sent to the Clippers. I mean, the goal is for them to not send it to the Clippers, but, it's tough to, make that happen. If the pick is 1 through 4, they get to keep it. If the pick is 5 through 9, it goes to the Clippers. If the pick is 10 through 30, the Pacers keep it. So, but the thing is, for them to get to 10th, to basically to get the 10 spot in the draft, they have to win a lot. They have to win a whole lot. And, right now, basically, the 10th spot in the draft is the last team that doesn't make the play-in. So like basically the team that doesn't get into the play-in round, like naturally would be 10th. I mean, obviously you have the lottery and that shakes things up a little bit, and some teams move up and some teams move back, but more or less, and as you get further back, like you have fewer lottery tickets. Again, the Mavericks were in the play-in round and still got the number 1 pick last year. So stuff does happen. It is a lottery. And everybody that watches so many people that watch the NBA believe that it's rigged. I can't say that. I have no idea if it's rigged. A lot of the NBA fans are convinced that Adam Silver makes a decision who's getting picked 1, 2, and 3, and the whole lottery thing is just for show. But I know people that have been in the lottery that media members you can obviously you go to the lottery show, but you can also go to the lottery itself. And people I know that have covered the lottery are like, you can't fake that. Like you actually cannot. Everybody thinks it's fake, but it's not. But bottom line, you can end to get to 10th. Like you had to just miss the play-in, and generally, your last play-in round team wins about 39, 40 games, somewhere in that stretch. Most of the time, you're right around 500. So I mean, the Pacers are 13 and 40. So they would have to darn near run the table to get that high. So they're in this place where like the lottery balls have to come up for them, or else anything 5 to 9 they don't get. Now, I don't think the guys that are they're going to go from 5 to 9. There's some point guards in there. The Pacers don't need a point guard. So like they're better off having Zubac than they would have anybody who would be from 5 to 9. But it's one of those things where if you get Zubac, and you get a top 4 pick, that's a big deal. If you lose out on that top 4 pick, you probably got to go into free agency and get something. I mean, like you traded Mathurin, you could use a scorer off the bench. Whether that's a 2, 3, 4, just anybody who plays in that, wing, situation, you can move the pieces around to get all these guys in, like Boozer, especially getting Zubac, like Boozer is even more of a wonky fit, but I think he's too good a player not to draft if you have the opportunity at 3 or 4. Caleb Wilson is such a big, just a talented player. You'd find a way with him, but man, I mean, you could get Darren Peterson, and you put him on this group, man, he'd be fantastic. DeBonta the same way. Either one of those two guys, if they could get him, it's a big deal. So you want to maximize the lottery tickets that you have to try to get those guys. And you have a whole bunch of other teams that are also have a reason to tank, they're right there with 13 wins with like New Orleans, Sacramento, Brooklyn, Washington. None of these teams are trying to pile up a bunch of wins. So like on one hand, like, yes, it would be the smart move to say, you know what, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, TJ McConnell, go on vacation early, go get yourselves go to Aruba, get out of here, but like there's rules, if you would sit these guys for 30 games and they have no injury designations, you get fined. There would be fines that would tack up for that. If you just said we're openly tanking here. And so like they got to have something, TJ McConnell's got a knee thing and you can say, okay, well, he's got an issue there or whatever. But like Pascal Siakam has been healthy all year. If you suddenly said, Pascal, you're not playing, the league would be in trouble. I feel like if they get Wilson or AJ, they would start over Nesmith. Like, do not be so sure about that. Do not. Aaron Nesmith has been a soldier for this group for 3 years, and these guys have won with him. And so, yes, like are they more raw talented than him? Yeah, but he's won. These guys got stripes. Nembhard and Nesmith in particular. There are definitely guys who don't think they're as talented. And they don't have like on the basic scale of who's the most talented guy, who's the guy you want to build a team around. Like, no, they don't rank that high, but you need guys like Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith to win championships.
Experience, man. Experience matters in the league. It's a big jump up. No matter how talented you are, it's still a big jump.
Yeah. And it's like long-term, but it's like you also like you need pieces that do jobs. Like you need guys that do jobs. And sometimes those like, Benedict Mathurin, but like if you played 100 one-on-one tournaments, Benedict Mathurin wins most of them for this group. Benedict Mathurin is a definitively better one-on-one player than Tyrese Halliburton is. In one-on-one tournaments, if Ben Mathurin plays Tyrese Halliburton, he wins. And he and Nesmith were usually pretty close. Nesmith was actually a better one-on-one player than I thought he would be. Because we first couple practices of the year in camp, they would have one-on-one tournaments, and Rick would tell us who won. And so, I mean, it was Matherin's always like top 2 or 3, but like Matherin didn't fit naturally in a 5-man game the same way that Aaron Nesmith does. Aaron Nesmith hits open threes, plays defense. And, I mean, he's an established defender. And it's like, if you've got Nesmith and Nembhard in the starting lineup, you got 2 really good perimeter defenders in there. So there could be a time if you get DeBonce or if you get Peterson where they great break in and maybe they do take Nesmith's job. But, that's going to be a longer tail than you think because Nesmith can guard, and you need people that can guard. And you need people with this group, you need people that can move the ball. And Halliburton's the guy that's running the show. Like it's not going to be, even if they got Peterson or DeBonce, they wouldn't build the offense around Peterson and DeBonce, at least not in their rookie years, at least not next year. Next couple of years, this is a team that intends to win something, and I mean, Halliburton might take a minute. I mean, I think that's one thing that Pacers fans need to be ready for is the possibility that Tyrese Halliburton is not going to be the guy we remember in his first year. He might get back, to being that guy in the second year, but like you have to leave open for the possibility it's going to be rough.
Look at Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he was able to come back, and he's older.
It's different.
Left it there. But hey, let's take a quick break and we'll talk more about it. For those of you maybe if you're in Bloomington or heading to Bloomington for the game tonight, Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games from Sunday through Thursday, a new menu, and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road. Back with more after these messages. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our all-new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch all your team's wins on a 40-foot screen and 30 HD TVs. And level it up with the high-flying human crane that puts you in the game. Private game suites, our exclusive arena, and more. Only at Dave & Buster's on 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Thanks a lot for joining us. Joined by our good friend Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. I've been talking a little Pacers, and they got a big time trade at the deadline, getting the center that they probably will need going forward next year. They have to trade Benedict Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson to get that done, plus 3 draft picks to the Clippers for Ivica Zubac. But he's definitely a good piece to have, and knowing where they sit this year, this looks like this was a good move by the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, they had to make it flat out. I mean, they couldn't go into next year without a center they could trust. And
didn't have Mathurin signed anyway, right?
No. So, I mean, they could have got him. I mean, he was going into restricted free agency. If they wanted Mathurin bad enough, they could have had him, but they would have had to spend a lot of money there, and they would have had a hole at the 5. And, I think, hole is a little bit harsh, but they would have, had to, they had to make a move for somebody, basically. I mean, there's not, the issue with this draft class is, there's not a big guy that you could trust. So like, let's say, if they don't make this move and, if they didn't get, like, if they got fifth in the draft, like technically you could take a 5-man if you really wanted to. You could reach a little bit and you could go get Jaden Quaintance from Kentucky, or Yaxel Landenberg from Michigan, or Hans Steinbach from Washington. You could take a flyer on one of those three guys. But I mean, like you've probably at least seen one or two of them. I don't know that any of those three guys are trustworthy centers to be starters on a contending team next year. So I mean, they were probably going to have to make a trade, and it's like you have to put something in that trade. Like you have, and so they, the draft picks, obviously the Clippers, set a high price. I didn't think they were going to touch this 2026 pick. And so the Clippers kind of putting their foot down and saying, if you want this guy, we need, like you can have it protected top 4, but like we want the possibility of getting your first round pick now, because if you give us next year's 2027 pick, like we think you're going to be a playoff team. Like we don't need, somebody from 22 to 30, like that's not going to help us. Like we want, like if you get 5 to 9, we want pick 5 to 9. Like we want somebody like that, because we're rebuilding a little bit. Like we give you Zubac, we got to kind of do a little bit of a reset here. So we want something that's going to help us do that. And between Mathurin and Jackson and this, they got that. But I mean, again, this going in next year with Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson and Micah Potter as your centers, just like they can function. Like they would win some games like that. That wouldn't crush them, but like you're not beating the Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns and the Cavaliers with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen and the Celtics with Vucevic for now and the Pistons with Jalen Duren. You're not beating those teams in the East if you don't have a real 5. Like you're not getting like it doesn't have to be bully ball, but like you got to be able to match those guys. Like they've got to be able to not push you around. And so in Zubac, they got a guy who's not going to push them around. He's not as he doesn't fit the offense as well as Miles Turner does. Miles Turner did. I mean, I still think in retrospect they'd have been better off just paying Miles Turner his money. But since they didn't, they had to go get somebody else, and that was going to take a player. And Zubac is less expensive than Turner would have been. I think his salary goes up into the 20s this year, but like Turner's making 27. They Zubac doesn't get that in the next couple of years. They would be on the next contract if they're going to keep him around after 2027, 28. But it's big to have him under contract for these next 2 years, because I think the next 2 years are really the big ones for them. They've got Siakam under contract for the next 2 years, Halliburton under for the next 3 years. With Siakam, they're going to have to make a decision after 28, because he'll be 33, 34, somewhere in that range. You're going to have to decide how much you want to pay him at that point, based on how he's playing, how many years you think he's got left, and how much you want to invest in that guy. But like, you still got prime Siakam. He's playing fantastic basketball this year. So you have to presume you need a year to get Halliburton right. But that 27-28 season, you want to make sure all your pieces are in place, and they are. They have everything contractually in place right now that team has just about everything it needs. But Zubac, again, he doesn't shoot it at all. I don't think he's taken a 3-pointer in 3 years. I think he's only made one in his career, where Turner's hit like 100 each of the last 3 years. So, like you have to decide, do you want to try to, push him to, take some more outside shots? I mean, do you want to open up the pick and pop game because it was so effective between Halliburton and Turner? That requires you to ask Zubac to do something he doesn't do. And maybe he does. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it isn't. But one way or another, I mean, he's going to be really good rolling to the basket. Fantastic post-up guy. Really good moves around the rim. Really good touch around the rim. But the biggest thing is just defensive rebounds. That's a big issue that they've had, is being able to stop. I'll get to this one, Aaron. Being able to stop defensive possessions. Basically just end them by grabbing the rebound, and that allows you to run. And so, that gets you going, and, it gets you started. So, Jesus, no, what do you stop it? Dear Lord with you people.
James says McConnell needs to Tanya Hardy Siakam.
No, he does not.
Getting a little rough. It's a rough crowd.
It's a rough crowd. No, TJ McConnell is not going to take a crowbar to Pascal Siakam's knees. You don't need to injure Pascal Siakam, I promise. That's not going to be what needs to happen. No. But bottom line, they need a piece like this. So Ben Shepherd will be on the team next year. They still got one more year on him. Like they could move him, but I'm not going to cut him. They're not going to just release him. So there might be a deal where it makes sense to move on from him. But I mean, as like a 14th, 15th piece, if that's what he becomes, that's not bad at all. Like right now, if you don't get, if you give up the pick, then he's your second unit shooting guard, then it's, right now, especially we don't know what Furphy's situation is going to be. You'll find out today. Furphy obviously, dunked really hard in that game and landed real bad. Basically was just, he just straight legged hit the floor. And, I don't know, Rick Carlisle seemed to try to hold out some hope yesterday, that it's not going to be that serious. Certainly just, you're not going to know until you see MRI or that one, because it's a question of, all right, did the ligament tear or did it sprain? Just what happened with what's intact and what isn't in there. But I mean, if it's an ACL, you're talking, like 6 to 8 months recovery, somewhere in that range, and you're not getting them back until, into the beginning of next season. That takes your depth out, takes a little bit of your wing depth out. So, right now, if you imagine a scenario, if they don't get the pick, then it's, like starting lineup would be, Halliburton, Nembhard, Nesmith, Siakam, Zubac, second team, second unit, you're looking at, McConnell, but it would be Shepherd would be your 2 guard. And then you'd be like Walker, Toppin, and Jay Huff. And so, and they've got, we'll see if, Kobe Brown's on an expiring contract, I think. So who knows if they'll keep him, the other guy they got in this trade. And if Furphy's stuck, then, you're going to need Ben Shepherd. You're going to need him to give you something. Cam Jones, obviously you'll see what he becomes. Maybe Cam Jones jumps Ben Shepherd. Maybe he doesn't. Again, you'll be, stuck without Furphy, but you'll still have him because they still like him. So we'll see. They might go into free agency, use somebody with the, if they stay below the tax, they can go get somebody on the non-taxpayer mid-level and pay him up to $14 million and it not count against your cap figure. So maybe they could go get somebody in that range that they like to play 2 guard, or whatnot. So, but you'd want to keep Shepherd. And even if you do go get a guy, you've seen the need for depth, and, Shepherd's a better player than you think. I understand it's like, okay, well, he doesn't really score and he doesn't really this, and you have moments where he doesn't look great, but, he attacks on defense. He runs the floor hard. Rick Carlisle loves him and he's cheap. That's the other thing. He's late first round pick, he's probably making right around 2.2 million, somewhere in that range right now. They'll be able to keep him at the minimum. He's a great clubhouse guy. They love him. He's easy fit with that group and established. Like him and McConnell go everywhere together. Basically, like Shepherd is like McConnell's little brother. And so, it's like they're not going to run away from Ben Shepherd. If it happens that they need to move on, he's not the most necessary of pieces, but he is a depth guy that makes sense to have.
No doubt about that. What is up next for you?
I'm not on this road trip, but the Pacers play the Knicks tomorrow and the Nets on Wednesday. So be keeping up with that. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Furphy. Going to keep an eye on what happens with Zubac when he starts. So that's the other piece we didn't talk about as far as, what they're going to do as far as whether they tank or not. But Zubac is on, paternity leave, and he's got apparently an ankle deal that he's been working through, and they can give him some time off. I guess he did come into Indy yesterday. He and Kobe Brown came in on a plane from LA. And I presume they're going to do physicals that makes this whole thing official. I don't know when but one way or another, I'm going to keep an eye on him, and when they basically like when he gets started, how much he's going to play, all those kinds of things. We'll see what happens there. So you'll continue to follow that stuff, and just continue to follow this team even as it moves slowly towards its end, and then reconstitutes in whatever it's going to be next year.
Sounds like a winner. Indiana basketball looks like they're getting their deal together well enough here at the end of the season. They've won 3 out of their last 4. 2 of those wins were over Wisconsin and Purdue, which are very good Q1 wins. Another Q1 win at UCLA. So 3 out of their last 4 games have been Q1 victories. So that's a huge, huge deal for this team as
they're in a good place.
Looked like they were kind of being left for dead there, and then they've kind of come on a little bit. Tucker DeVries had just been struggling so much, hadn't scored in like 5 games barely, and then he come on yesterday with 16 points on 5 of 10 shooting, and Sam Alexis added 19 points. Nick Dorn, who had really been filling that role, 0 of 4, 0 of 3 from behind the 3-point line in 27 minutes yesterday. Didn't get to the free throw line, 2 rebounds. So not much from Nick Dorn in that game. But Lamar Wilkerson, this dude, he's going to get drafted, isn't he?
I think so. I mean, I don't know where, but he's a good player, he's a good scorer. So I mean, I haven't like seen where he shakes out. I imagine he's a 2nd-round guy. But he could. I mean, he's a real scorer. I mean, he seems like he's a guy that could give you some bench scoring if you take him with a later round pick. He might end up with an undrafted free agent and kick around the G League for a while and go score 1 billion points there. So who knows? But no, I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch that game because I was driving back from Milwaukee. But Wisconsin's a big win, and this team, it's interesting. It's just it's going to be all over the place because of how 3-point driven it is. But I mean, it's a big deal that you can beat Wisconsin when you're as this team, as they operate, when you're 5 of 22 from 3, and you go and get 44 pain points against Wisconsin. I mean, I haven't watched this Wisconsin team very closely. I mean, I presume they are who they usually are. And I presume it's generally difficult to score against them in the paint. And so, that's a big win. And they're, I think, this was always going to be a strange team because it is 5 out, and you're used to seeing the opposite. So it was going to have nights where, they were going to get beat up inside and they weren't going to defend as well as you want to, and they weren't going to rebound as well as you want to, but, they're finding different ways to win. And so it's not a great Indiana basketball team, you've seen plenty better, but I mean, at least it shows that there is a philosophy, and it is the type of team that is going to be, it's going to have some losses in there. You're like, well, how'd they lose to that team and beat that team? But this is that kind of group, because it's very 3-point dependent. It's going to be the type of group that beats some teams it's not supposed to beat and loses some teams it's not supposed to lose to. But right now, it seems like it's shaking out, and they're going to, if they keep on this path again. I think Wisconsin was a really big win for their resume. They need, if they win all the games they're supposed to win the rest of the way, they should be all right.
I agree. They just have to par out, as I keep saying. And
they can't mess around tonight.
No.
And
we saw Oregon give Purdue all they wanted in West Lafayette. On this trip. So
you got to take Oregon down, and you get then you get some time, and you're probably losing your next 2 games. You're going to have a hard time beating Illinois at Illinois and Purdue at Purdue. You want to be able to get this one, be able to go 0-2 in your next 2 and still be okay.
And we talk a lot about Indiana's lack of depth, but they went 8 deep yesterday against Wisconsin. And that was without Tatum Conaway. Wisconsin, they've got 8 guys on the sheet, but one of them shows 0 minutes. They had 4 guys that played 40 minutes in that game. Indiana had 1 guy that played 40 minutes. So maybe Indiana's a little bit deeper than we think. Maybe that's just taken this long. Nick Dorn has done so. If Josiah Miles can do something, but Connor Enright has stepped up. 11 points he scored, double digits, 5 of 11 from the field, 1 of 3 behind the 3-point line, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 0 turnovers. I mean, that is a great stat line.
Yep. No, for sure. He had massive shots against Purdue, just massive shots against Purdue. And so, I mean, he's tough kid, gutsy, really like his game. And so there's, yeah, like I've been impressed by the pieces when I've got to watch them. Like again, like I don't get to hone in the same way that I did when I actually covered the beat, but it does seem like, like they get different guys step up. You get Lamar every night, but sometimes it's Connor Enright, sometimes it's Connerway, sometimes it's DeVries. Nick Dorn has had some fantastic games. You've had some good Reed Bailey moments. Again, Alexis steps up. 19 points, 5 blocks, 7 rebounds. That's a big deal. Like that's 1 on 9 of 10 shooting. I mean, that's a monster outing. But Enright's had some just huge games and some just gutsy stuff. Hit big shots when he's had to have them, big free throws when he's had to have them. Run the offense well. I mean, like I've been impressed with the way that he plays. And so, again, like seen better teams, seen more talented teams, but like there's enough grit on this team that gets you in, that gets you across the line, at least when it comes to the tournament. And that starts you in a good place. I mean, I think, obviously given what Cignetti's done in football, like you want it faster now, with for everybody at every sport, at every level. But they've set themselves up pretty good, for at least being able to, again, get in the tournament this year, retool, like kind of reconfigure on the basis of what it takes to win the Big Ten, and take another step next year and another step next year.
We'll see, brother. What is stay busy. Don't wear yourself out shoveling snow, and we'll see you a week from now.
Sounds good. See you, Jim.
Enjoy your week, buddy. Dustin Dopirak, make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all of his great content, as we appreciate him joining us each Monday. We've got more coming up. Indiana basketball on the floor tonight. Right back at it against Oregon as they're on their East Coast swing. Back with more right after these messages.
Dave & Buster's Bloomington is the place to eat, drink, play, and watch. Enjoy half-price games Sunday through Thursday, plus a new menu and next-level upgrades like private game suites and the high-flying human crane. Only at Dave & Buster's Bloomington on South College Mall Road.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
You're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area? You need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington has the deals for you, like great savings on the remaining 2025 Hondas. First-time buyers get more than expected. The Honda Civic and HR-V are the most popular vehicles for first-time buyers in the U.S. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington also has a quality selection of pre-certified used vehicles. And check out the selection of Andy Moore Honda Bloomington's 2026 models, like the Honda Passport, Honda CR-V Hybrid, Honda Ridgeline, and more. ISB Radio with Jim Coyle is brought to you exclusively on The Zone by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Bored, Bloomington? Dave & Buster's can fix that. Eat and drink your way through our new menu. Play half-price games every Sunday through Thursday. Watch your teams on the big screen and level it all up with the high-flying human crane. Private game suites and more, only at 731 South College Mall Road.
Welcome back on this Monday. Glad to have you along. Jim Coyle with you, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And the Hoosiers back on the hardwood tonight as they host the Oregon Ducks. Worst team in the Big Ten. Second worst at the moment by a half a game. But if they lose to Indiana, they're back to being tied for last. So it's not like this game helps Indiana a ton. It's just another one to add to the margin as Indiana trying to squeeze in on 20 wins on the season. They're at 17 right now, I believe, but have won 3 out of their last 4. And those 3 games have all been quad 1 victories. So that has really boosted Indiana up the board. And their metrics have been a friend to Indiana so far right now. As a matter of fact, they are inside the top 30 and continue to roll. And as they continue to win, that continues to boost for the Hoosiers. Right now, you look down in the net rankings, and they are 33rd, 33 in the net. I mean, like I said, you just par out. They're going to the Big Ten tournament. They're in the top 30, probably in Ken Palm. So they're getting things done. They don't have any quad 3 or quad 4 losses. That's huge. Let's see, how many quad 1 wins do they have? Where'd they go? I lost them. Daggone it. 33, yeah. 2-1 in quad 3 games. 2-7. Really? How's the win over Purdue and UCLA? Those were quad 1s for sure. What am I counting that's not? Wisconsin. That's got to be a quad 1 win. Although it may not have just been caught up yet. As I quickly look through here to see where I can find Wisconsin on the net rankings, and wow, they were below Indiana, unless this was after the last game. They're currently at 43rd, but that still would be a quad 1 win, top 50 team. So that gives them 3 quad 1 wins on the year. So that's moving in the direction you need to be for Indiana. Getting that win tonight, that'll just add to that. Let's see. Like I said, they are, daggone it, 16-8. So you win tonight, you got 17 wins, and they're going to be close to hitting that 20-win mark. There's no doubt that they're going to. Well, they'll probably hit it once they reach the Big Ten tournament. But I think that just their schedule alone for this season, it more than gives them the opportunity to win 20 games in the regular season. But no question. All right, so I'm going to give them the win against Oregon. I'm definitely not going to give them a win at Illinois nor at Purdue, but then they come back to play home against Northwestern. There's 18 wins. At home against Michigan State, even if they lose that game, you play at home against Minnesota. That's 19. Then you've got to go to Ohio State. So you either beat Michigan State at home or Ohio State on the road to likely get that 20th win in the regular season. But if not, they should get it in the first game of the Big Ten tournament. But you can't count on that. And that's the thing. This is a position we've seen this team in for several years, sitting on the bubble. Can't live on the bubble, man. You just can't live there. When you do that, you put your life into other people's hands, like Bubba Cunningham, who had a vested interest in making sure North Carolina made it in last year. So certain teams didn't play. Don't put your life in, don't put your fate in those hands. Now, I think that Indiana could go 19 and whatever. And see, that would be what, 19 and 10. They lost to Illinois, to Purdue, and possibly Michigan State. That would give them 3 more losses. And what if they lose at Ohio State? 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins. So 3 wins and 4 losses is what the betting lines will list for the final 7 games for the Hoosiers, as they sit at 16-8 right now. Yeah, 16-8. I think they go. Let's. If they went 3-4, that would leave them at 19-12 on the regular season. And if you get a win in the Big Ten tournament, 20-13, that team from the Big Ten will be in the NCAA tournament. But their metrics numbers will be enough to get them in. I think. Now, if they just win one more of those final 7 games and go 4-3, well, that is a no-doubter for me. That would make the team 20-11 in the regular season. And coming out of the Big Ten, there's no question at all they'll be going in. And another thing, that game at Ohio State at the end of the year, Ohio State is another team that is going to be battling for their playoff life, for their NCAA tournament life. They're in that same exact spot where Indiana is, down in the Big Ten standings. Indiana, and as is USC. And USC has the head-to-head win over Indiana. They are all three sitting in that spot where somebody's not going to make it out of those 3 teams: Indiana, Ohio State, and USC. As of right now, those are the 3 teams that are sitting in that magical wonderland of the standings in the Big Ten. Can all 3 of those teams make it? Yeah. Not sure. I really am not sure. I'm not saying that they can't or won't, but it's going to be iffy. USC, Indiana, Ohio State, all 7-6 in the Big Ten Conference right now, 5 games back. The difference in the overall standings, USC is at 18-6. With a win over Indiana. They're in the tournament. They just have to par out. Indiana's at 16-8. They, I think, can par out and be fine. The Ohio State Buckeyes, they're 15-8. 0-5 against the AP ranked teams. 0-5 against coaches ranked teams. Indiana at least has 1 win there. So they have the advantage over Ohio State in that instance. They end the season against each other in Columbus, Ohio. So it's going to be tricky. Hey, that's going to wrap it up for us. Appreciate everybody. The Fish, Don Fischer, Greg Rakestraw, Dustin Dopirak, most importantly, each and every one of you. Go out, have yourselves a great day. We're back tomorrow. Talk about what happened tonight. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.